What the bloody hell is going on with Sasha Banks and WWE? I am Luke, and this is El Fakador Laurie Blake, and we're currently joined by producer Simon today because Andy Datson is not in the office, and neither is Ollie Davis, and it's literally just the three of us.
It is indeed.
Yes, housemate Simon is going to be on the...
Housemate Simon!
Simon is going to be monitoring your chats today.
Not quite as a well-thought-out gimmick as El Fakador, is it?
Housemate Simon.
Housemate Simon.
I know him. I live with him. I mean, I don't. You do.
Yeah.
But yeah, you might recognize Simon from our 2K19 live stream that we did over WrestleMania weekend. But WrestleMania weekend is kind of the reason why we're doing this show today, because we were very tired after WrestleMania week and we didn't get around to doing a Saturday show. I had Thursday off to recover. Laurie and Ollie had Friday off to recover, so we couldn't record the weekend show then.
Separately.
And yeah, absolutely. And now Ollie's been running marathons and things like that. Congratulations to you. So we thought, let's do a bonus one now. A, because of all this Sasha Banks news, but B, more importantly, there's like 2 weeks worth of mailbag questions that we've not done. Yeah, so we've got loads and loads of mailbag questions. But before we dive into that, let's talk about this Sasha Banks situation. So it came out late last week that Sasha Banks is reportedly very unhappy within WWE. Meltzer reported in The Observer that she actually tried to quit over Mania weekend once she found out that she and Bayley were losing the tag titles to the Iconics. And the reason for this, apparently, this is this is all rumor and innuendo at this point, but when it starts coming from more sources and other outlets, that's when you start to think there's no smoke without fire, so to speak. That she was under the impression that the Hug and Boss connection were going to get a lengthy reign with the titles to try and establish them, make them feel prestigious, make them feel worthwhile. And instead they had a 2-month reign where they didn't do anything with them. And then they've just been given to a team that effectively are a comedy team.
And aren't massively over.
No.
But also the 1 month that the Hug and Boss Hug connection had the thing, it had the titles. They spent most of it going around the different shows saying, we're going to defend these. We're coming down to NXT. We're going to defend them here. We're going to go to SmackDown. We're going to defend them. And then, lo and behold, the Iconics have it. And it's like, what was the point in all this story?
That actually ties into it. That Banks was under the impression that, there was going to be a storyline.
Quite rightly under the impression.
That they were going to be going to all these other brands and defending the belts. They went down to NXT and cut a promo. Nothing ever came of that. And then they did tape a match, though. They taped a match of them defending it against someone. I can't remember who, but that never made it to television. And then they went to SmackDown because they never went to SmackDown, and the Iconics essentially said, you never come here. And they were like, okay. And then they went there and lost to the Iconics in like a non-title match.
Which earned the Iconics their way into the
effectively,
four-way.
Yeah. And then here we are, WrestleMania, they lose the belts. And Pro Wrestling Sheet and WrestleVotes were both reporting that Bayley and Banks essentially had public showings of the fact they were unhappy. They were saying that they were lying down on the locker room floors, being very loud about how unhappy they were about losing the tag titles. And they were also saying they were doing it outside of their hotel rooms as well, being very loud that they weren't happy with winning the belts. Sasha Banks, it should be added, has posted on Instagram a photo of Boss and Hug with the Iconics after the match.
Saying #women's wrestling.
#women's wrestling, and they're all hugging and things like that. So a lot of conflicting reports going on here. And then you've got Sasha Banks doing this post about how she misses the magic of where she works and about how you think a place is going to be like something and then it's not. And Fightful, Sean Ross Sapp reported that it's a revival situation where Banks was told things will get better. You just need to weather the storm, essentially, and kind of ride this one out.
Well, because there's an argument to be made for the fact that potentially having them lose the title at WrestleMania could be a way to rotate Banks and Bayley back into the title picture now that Becky is the double champ, right? Like we can have Sasha Banks and Bayley go back to being single star. Maybe one of them goes to SmackDown so they're apart again. Yeah. And then they can start vying for the titles. However, if that wasn't communicated to them that is the plan, what is the plan? Why do all these plans need to be kept secret from the people who are meant to be carrying them out? Or does it just mean that there is no plan?
Yes, exactly.
Which is you would be frustrated because Sasha Banks herself was saying that, like, there was an interview that I was reading where she said, in NXT, there's a plan. Everyone is told what is happening, what the storyline is, where it's going for like the next few months. And not obviously because you tape stuff on, like you do one big bulk load of tapings for 4 weeks or whatever. So you have a much better idea of where your arc is going week to week.
Yeah.
But then your arc also continues beyond that, and you tend to know what the end game is of what you're kind of working towards. Raw and SmackDown, she said, like on Raw, she just turns up and doesn't know, and then people hand her something an hour before, and you just have to go, oh, I'm doing that, I guess.
Yeah. It reminds me, actually, of the Super Mario Brothers movie. Segue, I wrote a book about this, where Dennis Hopper, he had an interview. There's a very famous newspaper article that's come out, because they invited some journalists down to come to the set, being like, hey, it's the first ever video game-based movie, and it's going to be great. And everyone in the interview was just miserable, because the whole production was a complete mess. Dennis Hopper was saying, like, yeah, you know what, I don't even bother the script when it's given to me anymore, because it's going to change by the time I actually get to set. So what's the point of even learning it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I guess for Banks, and like it's been a common report in WWE that plans just keep constantly changing. Road Dogg has just stepped down as the co-head of creative on SmackDown, and apparently one of the reported reasons is he was frustrated that he was spending all week getting these shows together, like for SmackDown, staying up all night having these creative meetings, only to arrive at the day of the show and for Vince to go like, no, we're changing it.
Yeah.
And then be like, so what's the point of me spending all this time working?
You might as well not do any work.
Exactly.
You might as well just turn up and just go, well, then what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
Like,
what do you want to do today?
Yeah, what do you want to do today, Vince?
Yes.
Like, what's the point? It's a waste of time. And also, like, you know, it felt like in the arc or the saga of Sasha Banks and Bayley within WWE, who have had terrible booking for so long.
Bayley in particular.
But, like, you know, their whole... When they finally started working together, you were like, oh, is this finally like the payoff for both of them? Are they both going to get into this final, you know, big feud that feels like it's going to be a kind of, not a main event kind of thing, but like this is going to be one of their bigger deals in their career? Because Sasha had a little bit with Charlotte, but they went back and forth so much that it kind of devalued any of her runs because she could never defend the belt. Here, it was like, okay, they're finally working together. Oh, they've gone to therapy.
Yeah.
Like, great.
Yeah.
And then the tag team, and you were like, oh, the tag team's not as interesting as the feud. And then you were like, okay, well, for the tag titles, I understand. But it was still months. They were teaming for months before the tag titles were even revealed.
No, they just had to face the Riot Squad week
So they just had to keep
week.
facing the Riot Squad week after week. And then finally the belts were revealed. So it's like, oh, the point has finally been, like, we've lifted the veil. Here's the thing. Like, we understand what's going on. Oh, it's for a week. It's for a month.
Yeah.
So all of this, their whole last almost 2 years of their career was building to a month-long run as the tag team champions.
Yeah.
You would be annoyed. Like,
absolutely.
You have every right to be annoyed, to be like, what, just to give it to the Iconics who haven't had a story at all.
This is the first thing they've done.
This is the first thing they've had to. Yeah, this is the first thing they've had to do since coming to the main roster beyond be annoying on SmackDown.
Yeah, and even then, they're barely on TV.
And like in an amusing, funny, like not to like put the Iconics down at all. I think they're great. Like I really like their act. But yeah, like to make those belts feel important, Sasha Banks and Bayley are the choice, not the Iconics. So you would just be like, why did we do all this groundwork to just chuck it all away and go, oh, these belts are a joke now? They go to the joke act.
You'll find no bigger fan of the Iconics than I. Like, I'm pretty sure it's me and then the Iconics are like the top, like the biggest fans of the Iconics.
I think it's you and then the Iconics.
Very well could be.
And then Ty Dillinger.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. In a rough order, yeah. But I agree that, like, when we were doing the predictions for Elimination Chamber, I had down Nia and Tamina to win the belts. And I thought, you put it on the heel act because then you have the baby faces doing the big chase for them, which I still buy into. But then when Bayley and Banks won the belts and they get that big emotional speech and they were crying, I was like, this is why you do it.
Makes perfect sense.
This is why it makes sense. This is brilliant television. This is really, really cool. This means so much to them, and we'll have an epic journey with them now. As I say, month and a half later, 2 months, but it's over.
Yeah.
And the Iconics win it seemingly out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed the segment they did on SmackDown. It was the first time I've actually thought the titles have felt relevant since Bayley and Banks won them. But there is also that frustration you can see from someone like Sasha Banks or Bayley that's just like, well, we want to do something great with this. And maybe this will lead into another storyline between them and Iconics, but we'll have to see what happens with the Superstar shakeup.
Yeah, but I would be, like, you would be annoyed because the stuff they say about Banks and Bayley, like, the way their characters are presented and the things they keep getting told to do, which is go to NXT and say all this stuff, go here and say this stuff, go here and do this stuff, like, be the boss. Like, Sasha's whole character is being this, like, quite braggy, like, obviously a face, but, like, quite a braggy person who, when she wins through hard work and determination, gets quite emotional. She looks like a chump every time they set her up. They keep setting her up for these falls where it's like, you win the championship, it's really amazing, it's really emotional, you lose it a week later, you look like an idiot. Like, same thing with the tag.
She's like a 5-time, like, Raw Women's Champion and has never defended it successfully.
She's the 3-time Raw champion in 1 year period, and she won it all in about the space of 2 months, I believe.
Because it was just like that series where she was just trading it back and forth with Charlotte.
And that was actually quite good.
It was great.
Like, that was great.
Leading to the big Hell in a Cell main event, great stuff.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that. But, like, one of them, like, at some point she needs to have have a title and hold it for enough time to be like, oh, she's not just you can win a championship match, but you can't ever win one where you are the champion. It just feels really, really stupid to me. And
so, well, this might all be like rumor and innuendo and things like that. Rusev tweeted out something like, what was it, like Botchmaster is gone, or Botchmaster wants out, or Botchmaster is unhappy, be gone. So, like, it felt like that was a bit of a pointed thing. And Banks's husband posted up a thing on Twitter saying, like, we all have to make choices in this life. Some people won't understand the choices that we make, but these are the choices that we have to stick by. People will miss you when you're gone. And Meltzer reported last week that essentially she's been given time off to decide what she wants to do next. So all of this very much is tying together to make me think that there is some truth to all of this reporting that's going on about Banks. And it should be noted as well that Fightful did say that they would be, that their sources said they would be very surprised if she was granted her release. Because her contract's not coming up. She is, like the Revival, requesting her release.
Yes.
And so it's very, I can't imagine that she'd be granted her release. Much like the Revival weren't.
No, absolutely. They're going to want to hold on to it. But it's one of those things where it feels like all this stuff coming out as well about the lying on the locker room floor and all that stuff. Like, some of the stuff I was reading earlier was saying this all came out a week after WrestleMania, and it was all 4 sources. Like, I think it was Ryan Satin that said it. So Ryan Satin said that 4 different sources, he verified the story with 4 different sources, but they'd all come to him separately to say this stuff. And these are all insiders from WWE, you would assume. Unprompted, coming forward in the same period of time with a story, suspiciously just after the story about Sasha Banks asking for her release broke. Yeah. And it I don't know, it smacks a little bit of, like, maybe we're trying to tar somebody with a little bit of, like...
It could very well be, or it could be a case of if her contract is coming up and she's looking to get some, like, negotiation. Yes. Some negotiation clout.
Well, they're trying to make her sound difficult.
Yeah.
I'm not saying like, they might not be at all, she might be difficult, but, like, it sounds suspiciously like we're trying to besmirch her name somewhat.
Yeah, there's no smoke without fire, but then it could be actually just people putting logs on there that aren't actually needed to create such said smoke. It's
solid metaphor.
Thank you. It's also worth pointing out as well that apparently the All Elite Wrestling TV deal currently is hinging on the strength of their roster. And this is what WrestleTalk.com are reporting, that they likely are going to be going to Turner, but it depends on which station they are, depends on which network or which channel, depends on what roster they've got. And when you look at some of these people like the Dean Ambroses of the world, the Sasha Banks, whether if All Elite Wrestling do want to get onto TNT and get that really big primetime audience, are they going to be aggressively going after some of these people? They're not going to be able to get Sasha Banks in time for Double or Nothing because it's like, it's next month. But you could always say you can go into networks and be like, hey, but we're going to have this person on our books very, very soon.
Yeah, we've just got to wait for this date.
Exactly, yeah. It's the same thing that WWE did with Fox. They did the whole thing about, like, the majority of their deal with Fox was based around, we've got Ronda Rousey. They've got Ronda Rousey, she's going to be on the show. Ronda's gone now. Ronda's gone. She might not be back in time for October.
Yeah.
So
keeping all the dates hush there.
Exactly. Shh, we've got her. now.
Yeah, she's fading as we speak.
Like Maya McFly in the photograph. So I think it's a very, very interesting story. Very interesting to see how this develops. It'd be interesting to see Raw tonight, whether or not, A, she's there, because she was on holiday last week, oddly with Kalisto.
Yeah, she just said she wasn't turning up, didn't she?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
And she had the appearance on the Wendy Williams show that she pulled out of, reportedly pulled out of at the last minute, to the point where New York Post were reporting that Wendy Williams' people have said, we're never booking her as a guest again because she threw our whole show into disarray. So there's something going on. There isn't something going on. We're absolutely not sure. But facts are what the facts are. Reports are Banks is unhappy. She did ask for her release. She wanted to quit at WrestleMania because she didn't want to lose the tag belts. Bayley was also reportedly very frustrated with the situation. And I guess we'll have to wait and see what the latest is and what's going to happen with her. Before we jump into the mailbag, though, housemate Simon, do you have any super chat questions?
Yes, we do have some good super chat.
Into the microphone, please, Simon.
Sorry. I had to look at my laptop, which is very far away.
See, Andy says that this job's hard, and it turns out
it's
it is.
because there's been some Twitter and Instagram things happening whilst you've been talking. So I'm juggling all my Apple devices. Someone pointed out that Sasha and Bailey have both posted quite cryptic Instagram and Twitter things. Sasha basically having a go at people calling them marks.
Oh, for God's sake.
Bailey tweeting a GIF of the Lion King and saying basically they're both saying, "Oh, you guys don't know what's really going on," and they're kind of they're doing that thing.
Okay.
So Swizzle Stick 97 says that they love your beard, which is nice.
Me in particular?
You in particular.
Oh, that's nice.
It's longer than usual.
Yeah, no, I need to get it cut. I'm going to get it cut this Friday. Big
day.
I feel like it'll almost grow in here, mate.
That's the aim. That's
You've
what
just
I was
got to
looking
leave
for.
it. I think.
I know, but the thing is, like, I've been leaving this now for since February,
That's
and this is the extent
Have
of
you
it
tried
since February.
straining? That's what I.
Every morning, I
like
just look in
pushing
the
down
mirror.
on the top of your head.
And it eventually will get there, but I'm going to a wedding this Friday, and I'm part of the groom's party, so I need to look good. So
Have you thought about getting a little falsie? Just a little
merkin,
like a little beard merkin.
Yeah, I mean
fillers.
Yeah,
a weave.
My mum, bless her heart, because I'm massively bored. I'm shaving my head this weekend as well. And she was just like, I know you've got some problems with your hair at the moment. Have you ever considered something like this? She sent me this video from BuzzFeed of a lad who's got the same sort of balding style that I've got. But it's like spray painted, but also backcombed and everything like this. And I was like,
wow.
Mum, how long do you think I've got of a morning to sort myself out?
You just set it up so as you leave the shower, it just goes on the top.
I don't have a team of makeup people every morning. Like I know we're at 700,000 subscribers now, but we don't have a makeup department.
Get it tattooed on.
Grab some more questions, please, Si.
Yes, we can. Smizzy, I'm going to say it, says it isn't the first time she's done this vent and nor will it be the last, and said that they deserved a better title run, which I think is fair. You can say that about a lot of people.
Yeah.
Stussy has said that he's read a rumour that another reason that Sasha was upset was because her and Bayley were going to lose a handicap match against Alexa on the Raw after Mania.
Oh, yeah, because Alexa did challenge them to a match, and it ended up just being Bayley. But Banks and Bliss went on this sort of like blocking spree of like blocking each other and sending each other stuff back and forth.
So people think they've got legit heat, right?
Yes.
And Banks has said on things that she wouldn't dream of working with Alexa Bliss again. So
there's been lots of reports of people who have hate with Bliss. Nia Jax in particular was one of them. I found that Sasha Banks post where she says, "If you only knew, ya marks." Hashtag Raw, hashtag SmackDown Live, hashtag NXT, hashtag NXT UK, hashtag Progress, hashtag Evolve, hashtag Shake Up. Noting that she's used WWE affiliated promotions there.
Yes.
She didn't do AEW or anything like that. That was the other thing as well people were putting money on. She stopped following WWE and started following AEW and Cody and the Young Bucks and stuff.
Stop following Vince as well.
I was like, that is next level trolling. Like that's brilliant. And she also added, that was back on November 6th. I was going to say pissed off for greatness. I was like, actually ties into what's currently going on at the moment.
I think she should go to NXT again.
They're
going to be looking for like some filler fill the females for a bit of time while they move some people up to fill the main roster again.
Yeah.
So like sending Sasha Banks down there to be champion for a little run.
Can you imagine trying to sort out the NXT spoilers, the NXT tapings from last week, being like Superstar Shake-Up's coming next week? Who knows who's going to be left? We have no idea. I'm trying to build storylines around these people. I might lose half.
Doing your tapings and just being like, I don't know.
I don't know. just do matches that have no consequences. We don't know what's going to happen. We'll have one more question, please, Si, and then we'll jump into the mailbag.
Okay. Let's see. Some of them have gone a bit off the Sasha Bailey thing.
That's
for now,
fine.
If that's all right.
That's fine.
Somebody
We're free spirits here.
recording has said, could you book your ideal Fatal 5-way with one person from basically each show? So Raw, SmackDown, NXT 205, and NXT UK.
Oh.
Okay, I'm going to go with Keith Lee NXT.
Yep.
Humberto Carrillo from 205 Live.
Oh, yeah.
So that again?
Humberto Carrillo.
Humberto Carrillo.
Tyler Bate, NXT UK.
Are you ordering breakfast?
That is delicious. And
Huevos rancheros.
then I'm going to say... Then I've got to try and think who's on the Raw. And Seth from Raw and Daniel Bryan from SmackDown. Nailed it.
Okay. Nailed it. First try, every try.
Name 5 people.
That is then the first 5 people you can think of on each brand.
Braun Strowman. Eric Rowan. Walter. Dominic Dijakovic.
Yep.
What was the other brand? 205. Who's the biggest person on 205? Buddy Murphy.
There you go. It's
really
match.
hard. Or maybe who's the smallest person on 205?
Kalisto.
Yeah, Kalisto. That's what I want.
It's a Hoss match plus Kalisto.
Yeah.
Right,
It's the biggest hoss of all.
Let's dive into the mailbag. If you want to send questions to the mailbag, all you've got to do is become one of our awesome pledge hammers on Patreon and leave your comment in the community section. Do not email me. I will just lose it. I've backtracked through. We're not going to be able to answer every question because some of them were like pre-WrestleMania, and it was asking questions about what we think will happen at WrestleMania, which...
Why we're really well placed to answer those now.
Exactly, yes. But it also seems a bit redundant because we all know the answers to them now, unless we all live in different...
I'd just like to be right.
What's that timeline thing that people talk about where we're all like on different planes of existence?
The multiverse.
Yeah, no, the Mandela effect. The Mandela effect about how like... It's basically like the multiverse, though, where how we like... People might remember something that doesn't exist because there are people who believe that Nelson Mandela died in the late 80s and remember watching like the news reports about it. And he died like many years later. Anyway, so if you're one of those people. Ryan Sanderson
Ground Force
asks...
did his garden.
You are still listening to WrestleTalk.
Oh, I mean, it's on Talk is Jericho. So one of the other top banging podcasts to listen to during WrestleMania season. As by the Metro. Ryan Sanderson, are there any acts of kindness from wrestlers, whether they be personal experiences or things you have heard or seen that stick in your mind or maybe made you even more of a fan of them? I remember a story where Sami Callihan, at the time Solomon Crowe, saved a woman from a car wreck. Although I didn't know about Sami Callihan before then, it made me take a liking to him early on.
Whoa.
That sounds great.
There
Good work,
you go.
Sami.
Well done,
WrestleTalk
Sami.
fan, Sami Callihan. Do you know of any acts of kindness from wrestlers?
Not particularly.
Keith Lee gave me a free T-shirt.
There you go.
So that was a real act of kindness. I did buy him a drink.
I just think it's surprising, like, when you meet people like Sami Callihan and they're so nice in real life, and you're just like, oh, okay, well, I've just seen you staple things to Jimmy Havoc, so... Yeah.
He was a right little sweetheart.
Yeah, he was actually really nice.
Yeah, really nice guy.
I think, it's surprising that everyone's just so lovely, I think.
Yeah. Dan the Man asks, do you think WWE, brackets the main roster, will get a 5-star rated match from Dave Meltzer in the near future? And if so, what wrestlers do you think will get it? So, speaking of, Meltzer gave Gargano Cole his highest ever rating for a match in WWE. 5.5 stars he gave Gargano Cole at TakeOver New York.
I think he just likes long matches.
Well, I think he likes Gargano in particular.
He does like Gargano. Well, Gargano is very good.
That
was not Gargano's best match.
No, I don't think
it was the final stretch and like the storytelling and the momentum of it and kind of where it was placed in his career made it an amazing piece of drama. Mm-hmm. But it was slow in the first 2 falls.
And also it was on the same card as Walter Pete Dunne.
Yeah.
which I thought was a much better match. But anyway, do you think a main roster match will get 5 stars from Meltzer? I personally, I don't think it ever will, only because the style of main roster wrestling that WWE do is not Meltzer's cup of tea. And you've got to remember that the rating system that Meltzer uses is purely subjective.
Yeah.
And the reason why people put it on a high pedestal is because he's been doing this for like 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
He has seen more wrestling than anyone in the entire planet.
He's just the most established barometer for what's good in wrestling. Like, he's probably the one of the more historic rating systems going for like match rating. It's just, if there was a Rotten Tomatoes for wrestling matches, he would be it.
Yeah, exactly. It's like people used to say that Siskel and Ebert were like the be-all and end-all of movie criticism, so they would always go to them, or Mark Kermode in the UK. But like Meltzer, what I really appreciate Meltzer, and I don't think this gets said enough, is when you listen to his radio show, he has nothing prepared. And so, like, questions will come in and people say, like, oh, can you tell me the history of this thing? And he'll just go like, oh, yeah, in blah-de-blah-de-blah. And he'll just be able to tell you, like, a 10-year history of any subject in wrestling. It's absolutely incredible.
When you hear him talk, it's just like, we saw him at the MediaCon Hall of Fame, didn't we? Having a talk. And he just did a little bit of chatting. And it just goes off.
Yeah.
Like, it will just go, he's on a line, and then one thought strikes him, and he goes off into this other potted history of something. Sags back into where he was and then goes off over here into another potted hit. It's just like, it's watching a timeline happen.
It was crazy. It's like, I really love Brian Alvarez. Did you see All In? Just off here. It was really great. Alex Allen has asked, would it be okay to send in fantasy bookings of real life people in unthinkable situations that we would like to see take place? For example, you could fantasy book the rise and push of Randy Datson at WrestleTalk, leading to his eventual heel turn. Love the show and all your hard work you guys put into it.
Randy's already a heel.
He's acting well more heel on Twitter as well. I think he's trying to get himself over with it.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to start a feud with Pete. It's not going to work, mate. Andy Mack says...
Clean up your desk, Andy.
Yes, step one. Andy Mack, in a world where Seth takes the belt off Lesnar, we live in that world, how long do you think we can go before we see a Roman Reigns heel turn? He will eventually want an opportunity to take the belt back that he never lost. How could they go about it? Could be interesting. I've seen a few people saying they were thinking Roman could turn heel, but I don't see it happening.
I think Roman is in the John Cena role of perpetual babyface forever.
He always has been.
Yeah, I think like he'll probably more than Cena veer closer to that sort of stone cold badass role that Becky Lynch is currently occupying. But I think it's that is as far as he'll go. I don't think he'll ever do a heel turn because he is the merchandise seller for the children.
Exactly.
Like he's the what the kids look up to him, and I just don't think you would ever do that. Like you wouldn't turn Superman bad. You have they have obviously, but you generally speaking,
it never works.
You wouldn't, but you wouldn't do it in the cartoon series, really. Like
the same
in the comics, you would, but not in the kids bit.
And like he's raising money for cancer. Like
there'll be 100 comments saying they've done that now.
Yeah, you can't boo a man who's raising money for cancer. Like it's not possible.
I think they're more likely to turn Rollins heel, but I think they're more likely to just do this is the greatest challenge. Because we're buddies.
Yeah,
so we should just have an honourable battle about this.
Indeed.
In the same way Roman offered Finn Balor a shot because he was like, you never got your rematch.
Yeah.
Here you are, I'm being an honourable champion. And they had a great match.
Craig Roberts asks, this is a great question, only for the last part of it. What's your opinion on the term wrestling mark? I listened to Vince Russo's podcast a few weeks ago, and he thinks it's derogatory. Wonder if you guys agree. It's a bit effing rich coming from Vince Russo, isn't it? Bloody hell, he uses that word very liberally to talk about people he doesn't like.
He means, I've finished talking. Something, mark.
Your marks.
It's like over on a walkie-talkie. Your marks.
Do you know what? I don't think it's really that. It was once a derogatory term. In the same way that I was called a nerd when I was at school as a derogatory term, but now it's become like, a thing to wear as a badge of pride. If you're not a nerd, you're part of the uncool kids, really. It's the joke of 21 Jump Street, is that the jock goes back to school and it's the nerds that have taken over. If I was at school now, I'd be the coolest kid in school and we'd be bullied us all. I probably still wouldn't be. I'd still be well.
Life finds a way, Luke.
Life always finds a way. How do you feel about the word mark?
Doesn't bother me.
No. Highland Abe says, as a passionate Scotsman, I would love
review.
That's what you come here for. Yeah. As a passionate Scotsman, I would love to see Drew McIntyre pushed as the next top guy. Do you think his thick accent and WWE's national stereotyping could hold him back from getting over with American fans?
No, I don't think so. I think that the only thing that's held Drew back so far, I think, has been Roman's illness, most likely. I think the plan that everyone was talking about for a long time was that it would be Roman and Drew post-WrestleMania kind of going into this big feud. And I think that will probably, something like that will still happen. Mm-hmm. I just think at the moment, Drew's in a holding pattern while they wait for something for him to do. Because he couldn't be the one to take it off Brock. Because he's not on the right side of the line of heel face. So there'll be something for him to do, and he probably will be a top guy because Vince likes him. Mm-hmm. And that's pretty much all you need to do. It doesn't even matter what's been scripted, what's happening. On the day, Vince might turn up and go, "Oh yeah, you're champion
Let's
now."
make him champion.
Yeah,
That'll
exactly,
surprise people. Yeah, it's very much a case of when rather than if.
This is the thing. Actually, sorry. I just remembered the thing I was going to say in the Sasha Banks chat was that it's the idea of surprising people is probably also what Sasha and Bayley fell foul of in a WrestleMania in which everybody, like almost every match, felt like the outcome was already known. We knew Seth was going to win. We knew Becky was going to win. We knew Kofi was going to win. That change of that title felt like the only one that was like not a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
And that was probably why it happened. They were just like, well, one of them has to change on to someone that's like no one thinks about. So this one.
It's quite funny, really, that whole thing, isn't it? It's like
the demon can't lose either. Like even like
Yeah, we all said like, I mean, because I predicted all three of them were going to win, but there was a lot of chat being like, I mean, I think all three of them will win, but this is WWE, and they're not known for giving fans what they want. Yeah. The other thing as well that we didn't talk about in the Sasha situation is the double standard I've seen from fans over this weekend of being like, when the Revival asked for their release, it was like, too right as well. They've been buried for too long. They've never had a good storyline. As soon as Sasha does the same thing, it's just like, well, take her toys and go home then. Yeah.
I think she gets a lot of bad press.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of
unfairly
it,
so.
and I think also these 4 reports, if they are meant to sort of damage her credibility in that, they're basically having a tantrum. It's all that sort of like, it's playing into that idea of being like, you're just having a hissy fit.
Yeah. What is it, your time of the month?
Rather than like being cool badass about it and being like, I want to go to AEW because you're not treating me right.
Yeah, exactly. Tyler Byron says, if the MCU heroes were in WWE, who would be pushed as champions? Who would be the comedy mid-card? Also, if WWE superstars were cast as Marvel Cinematic Heroes, who would they be? Thanks, guys. Have a great April Fool's Day, which goes back how far? We've not done this for a while.
Wow.
If MCU heroes were in WWE, who would be pushed? Captain America would
be champion.
Yeah, and John Cena would play him in the WWE version.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Ant-Man's the mid-card.
Absolutely.
As is Star-Lord. And
yeah. Oh, yeah, they'd be like feuding over each other.
Weirdly, Drax would be main eventing.
Oh, yeah, totally. Against Triple H.
Yeah.
The lad from Blade Trinity. I also got this as well. Sorry if I'm credited who this came from, but Luke, since you seem to enjoy horror movies, how do you feel about Mark Hamill as the voice of Chucky in the upcoming Child's Play reboots? Into it, mate.
Mark Hamill is a great voice actor.
Yeah, really is. Good, very good choice for Chucky as well. Like, I'll be honest, like, there's no one in my mind that will be able to do that voice. Brad Dourif is the voice of Chucky. But, hey, man, Mark Hamill's a solid second choice. I just think that the film is being done for very cynical reasons, even if the trailer was quite good. Noah Trombley says,
You'll still see it.
Of course I'll go and see it.
You'll see it multiple times.
Probably, yeah. Noah Trombley asks, do you think John Oliver's... I am a Chucky Mark. Do you think John Oliver's piece on WWE will produce any change within the company because now their bad business practices are in the mainstream? No.
They were in the mainstream before, I felt like. They were very... Not much of a secret, was it? About how...
Yeah, 2 words, Chris Benoit. Like that put them in the mainstream.
Yeah.
Like John Oliver doing this sort of takedown is fairly mainstream, but bloody hell, nothing quite like the Benoit double murder suicide from 12 years ago now. Like that really was like highlighted the issues of the wrestling world, which have since been been looked at with the introduction of the wellness testing and things like that. And a lot of people take piss out of the wellness testing, and quite rightly so. Randy Orton calls it the weed tax. And it's like he had 2 strikes and then it was reportedly failed his third one, which means you'd have to be fired. But they would just kept sweeping it under the rug because he's a top guy. And
test the limits of it.
Exactly, yeah. And I think there's a few people that can probably
maybe
just
this
get
is
away
Sasha
with
Banks' way out.
Yeah, it was. It's done for, as Paul London said, it was done for PR reasons. But there's also some good that has come out of it. We've seen more people get clean and sober from them helping out. Anyone who has worked for the company can get a rehab on their dime and things like that. But in terms of things will change, I don't think so. Like Matt Hardy has been out saying, like, defending WWE's practice to this day. Like it was only recently, it was over the weekend he was defending it. So I can't see them ever changing it.
Well, it's one of those things where there's almost the argument to be made that they don't have to now because there's another company. If you don't want to work here doing this, go over there.
Yeah.
We're still WWE. People are still going to want to come and work here because of the name of this company and what this means to wrestling as a whole. So you've got your option if you want your healthcare and all the other things.
Yeah, if you want your
healthcare and to be an employee, go over there.
Oh, you want benefits? Ugh, weird. Eddie Brooks asked, "Hey lads, pop your tinfoil hats on and indulge me for a moment. I've been suspecting this may happen for a while. Now that they've announced that the main event at WrestleMania is for all the gold, what do you think the chances they might wave their "Yay, we're progressive" flag once again and announce a women's-only weekly show on the network?
Low. I don't think it will do very well. I don't think people...
There's almost enough wrestling on there as it is.
Yeah, I don't think... I think the audience is there for one or two big storylines in women's wrestling, and I don't think it's probably there for a whole match. You would be asking for almost like a different swathe of audience to come. I could see a weekly women's wrestling show on a different network, not on the network. If they went to a slightly different focus, I can only think of ITVB here, but that's a naff choice. But something of that ilk, something more with a higher percentage of female watchers.
Yeah,
that would make sense. But the network is too, I think, ingrained in probably people turn out for the Mae Young Classic once a year, and that's about it.
And also, it would be announced, and it will end up like NXT UK.
Exactly. I think that's the other
be
big
announced.
issue,
They'll do a big push for it, and then very quickly they'll just stop putting any focus onto it, and it'll just become just a TV show.
Yeah, if they did it with enough the same gusto to which they did NXT, there's a chance that given time it would become quite a big deal. But I don't think they're going to ever give it the amount of breathing room it needs to become that.
No, absolutely not.
You're better off just featuring it much more evenly on the shows you already do.
Yeah. And really, they already have a weekly...
they have already started doing that.
Well, I was going to say they already have a weekly women's only show. It's called Total Bellas and Total Divas. Jonathan Hedman says, what do you want to see or predict the final post-credit scene is for Avengers Endgame?
Oh, you've got your theory of this.
Yeah, we did this on the Ramble Club podcast for our $10 backers. I said that it's going to be my final moments. The final moment I want to see is Cap back in the 40s having that dance with Peggy Carter that they said they were going to have in Captain America: The First Avenger, and that'll be a nice heartwarming moment for Cap. A nice little swan song to his story.
I want Thanos on his ranch.
Again. Thanos wins.
The ultimate swerve.
Thanos wins again. I'm going to do another 50%. Have you got another answer or a post-credits guess? Jonathan was guessing that it could be Galactus or Introduction to the Fantastic Four, which I think is too soon.
It's probably too soon, yeah. Everyone getting shawarma again?
Hey, man. Yeah. Good callback. I could go away for it. Funny enough, actually, when I went to the press screening of Avengers, we didn't have that post-credit sequence because they hadn't filmed it yet. They filmed because I saw it 2 weeks before it came out, and then they I think it was on the day they were doing the press screening, they were out filming that scene. There you go.
Great scene.
Great story. Damian Wade, what wrestler do you think had the most over catchphrase, and what wrestler do you think has the most number one catchphrases that are over? Jericho was a catchphrase machine in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Oh, he was, wasn't he?
But the most over catchphrase is what? It's Austin's what? Because it's still over to this day.
I hate that. CM Punk's name. My name is my catchphrase.
Yeah. And I'd say The Rock as well. You talk about arenas going ballistic for catchphrases.
So what modern catchphrases then? People who are on the weekly show. Walk with Elias is pretty over.
It's really over.
I don't feel like people do the New Day's catchphrases.
People clap
they just
along.
like them. They've got a lot of catchphrases.
Yeah.
but people love them.
Yeah. And Burn It Down does quite well. But yeah, I think who had the most over catchphrase, I'd say it's Austin's What. And most number, I'd probably say Jericho or The Rock. Yeah.
I agree.
Reese Deegan asks, so with a new focus on wrestlers' contract, I think there is only one question on everyone's mind. In the fictional world of Big Apple Takedown, do the WWE superstars working for the NSA count as employees or independent contractors?
I imagine they're kept off the books entirely for the purposes of covert ops.
This Big Apple Takedown is what we're currently talking about here with Ollie's horrible folding of pages so we can remember where he is. Currently on chapter 10. We're reading that on our Ramble Club podcast that you can join in on Patreon. Yeah, I think it's very much just kept off the books. That's the whole point, isn't it? Yeah.
For those that don't know, the WWE stars are also covert ops.
They're trying to take down a meth lab.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. Right, before we get back into the mailbag, do we have any questions, Simon? Any super chats?
Yes, we do. We've got quite a few, actually, if you want to try and rattle through them pretty quickly.
Let's try.
HCP Assassin says, if it wasn't for Ricochet being in a tag team with Aleister Black, could Vince have sent him off to 205 Live instead?
100%, yeah.
Is it more, maybe not could, but would have? Or even should have?
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
I think, like, because Black and Ricochet were called up, really, because Vince had a panic moment. And the story is that, and he just said to Triple H over the weekend, get me 4 of your best NXT guys.
Give me 4 of those.
Give me 4 of them. So he gave them Black, Ricochet, Gargano, and Ciampa. And so, like, that kind of forced his hand to put them on the main roster. Yeah. If it had been his choice...
What a terrible choice for Triple H. You should have chose the next guys down. Not your top guys, Triple H. You need them. You're trying to finish a story.
Yeah. But I think if it had been Vince's choice, he'd have gone to 205 Live.
Yeah, probably, like... Which is stupid, because how over has he got on the main roster just doing his thing?
It would have been ludicrous, but I mean, the story was that that's where Gargano was going to head. He was going to head to 205 Live. So Vince sees guys that are small and goes like, "Oh, you're part of that purple brand with all the other small people."
Where I don't have to think about you.
Exactly. Yeah, I don't have to know who you are. Next question.
Next one is: do you think Triple H will still be wrestling at Mania 40?
Yeah. Oh, God. He'll be the Undertaker. He'll be the Undertaker. Like, he'll just keep going until his body can go no more. He'll always have his WrestleMania moments, and I guarantee you, it'll always be the longest match on the card.
Yeah. What will his entrance be by that point?
It depends on what was
descending from a helicopter.
No, it'll be the same as this year, but it's not a car that looks like Mad Max. It is a mobility scooter that looks like Mad Max. It'll be like one of those mods in...
It would have been whatever film was called 4 years previous to the entrance being done. Yeah. That would have been...
He'll come in as a Transformer. That series would be done and dusted.
But from the Michael Bay era.
From the Michael Bay
not like
era
from the new cool Bumblebee era.
Yeah.
Like
G1.
No, exactly.
Quick one, I guess. Well, notwithstanding what's going to happen later, but who would you guys like to be champions on Raw, SmackDown, NXT?
I like the champions we've got at the moment. I like Becky as champion. Although I'd like to see 2 challenges to Becky 2 belts rather than just Lacey going for both of them.
Yeah, my God. I don't like Lacey going for them at all.
I'm okay with Lacey going. At least there's something different. But I like Seth as Universal Champion. I like Kofi as WWE Champion. And like Shayna as NXT Women's Champion. It's just now, I feel like with Shayna in particular, I'm now at that point, it's like, well, who's going to take it off her? And I'm excited to see who it is that's finally going to dethrone her.
Yeah, true.
Sorry, I cut you off there.
No, it's all right. I was still thinking about who I wanted to be the champions. I want AJ as the Universal Champion.
Oh, yeah.
I really want the AJ Universal Championship run. And everything else I'm probably quite happy with, really.
Yeah, we were talking about
like
AJ.
Finn needs a bit longer with the Intercontinental belt. Like Becky 2 belts can run for a little while. Kofi probably is the only one I'd be like, you can probably take that off him now. Like, I don't think Kofi with the belt is as good as Kofi chasing the belt. And I think that story is going to peter out.
I think it will certainly peter out. He's a nice lad, but I think we can certainly have another good few months of it yet. I think it can certainly last until SummerSlam.
It depends on how bad the person going after the belt is.
Well, yeah. I mean, if it's like, it really does depend on that, doesn't it?
Yeah, because I mean, if they're like this really looming heelish presence with their own faction, like if it's the Undisputed Era, I'm well into that.
Yeah,
but I think if it's just Daniel Bryan more times, but it's probably...
me and Ollie when we're doing our sort of like fantasy picks for Superstar Shakeup, I'd love to see Bryan go to Raw and go after Seth.
Universal Champion Bryan.
Exactly, and go after Seth with that Universal belt.
Give me more.
I'd love that. Can we have another super chat, please?
Yes, you can. Jer Personen has asked...
Jer Personen?
Jer Personen has asked, was TakeOver New York main event really a 5.5-star match?
I mean, we've kind of talked about this. I don't think it was. I don't think it used its 2 out of 3 fall stipulation to its advantage.
I think my feeling
and it held it back.
I think my feeling at the end was like 5.5 stars, but I think thinking back about how I felt through most of the match, not really.
Yeah, I don't think the first half is as good as the second half. Is like that final fall is the match that it should have been pretty much from the start. Yeah. And I think if it didn't have the 2 out of 3 fall stipulation, it would have been that match. In which case, I do think it would have been 5.5. But like, I don't think you can ignore that first half of it.
No,
the first 2 falls, which effectively it meant nothing and it built nothing.
I think we discussed this before, and we said like it would have been interesting had they done the Undisputed Era's interference on the second fall, and made that where the drama kicked up a gear, because like they saved it all for that final fall, and it kind of felt like we always knew this was going to go to the full 3, and Johnny's going to, probably going to walk out with the final 2 falls, and always be kind of fighting from the back. But if you're going to do that, Cole sneaks the first one easily, then he's getting help just as Johnny starts to fire up. So then when Johnny does turn it around and get that second fall, everyone goes mental, and then make that final stretch of the match just this crazy exchange, like it was, of just them going one-on-one, and then have a little bit of interference at the end just to ramp the drama a tiny bit more, and then finish it.
I completely agree.
Would have been like the perfect use of because you want to make it feel like Johnny's really overcoming here. Yeah. And I don't think the first 2 falls didn't make you feel that way. It just felt like they were just trading.
Yeah, I completely agree. Let's dive back into the mailbag. Dwayne Cooley asked, now that WrestleMania is upon us, and we have the WrestleMania 20 review available, what are your favourite WrestleMania matches of all time?
Of all time?
I said this on the...
My brain just empties of all facts when people ask questions like that. It just goes, I don't remember anything.
I said it on the WrestleMania 20 review on WrestleRamble Extra, available for our Patreon backers. That triple threat, the Benoit Michaels Triple H triple threat, is one of my favorite Mania matches of all time. Like, it's an incredible main event, and it's so filled with drama, and like all 3 guys are exceptional in it. I think it's an outstanding match. And Daniel Bryan winning the belt.
Oh yeah, I love
at WrestleMania 30.
That's such a good
which is going to be our next episode of WrestleRamble Extra, funnily enough. But really,
I think that's one of the ultimate WrestleMania moments of all time, though, isn't it, Daniel Bryan?
But really, the actual answer to this question is Raven versus The Big Show versus Kane in their hardcore 3-way at WrestleMania X7. Simon's nodding because Simon knows. Best match ever. It's great. It's like there's a moment where you literally have King Kong versus Godzilla of Kane and Big Show just throwing each other through walls.
The golf buggy section is astounding.
Oh, when they start doing Mario Kart, it's terrific. Yeah. Like, it's the best match ever. Go out of your way to watch that one. If you've never watched WrestleMania X7, watch that and the Gimmick Battle Royal, and probably Rock Austin as well in the main event. but before that, definitely watch the 3-way and the Gimmick Battle Royal.
Shane versus Miz Dad.
Oh, well.
The ultimate match.
Do you love Miz Dad? Alex Allen says, hi Luke, Ollie, Laurie, and definitely not Randy. I recently got into some UK wrestling and I've taken a liking to NXT UK act Flash Morgan Webster. I wanted to know more about him and if you can recommend any matches of his. Also, I know he's from Wales and I want to know what the scene is like there. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and Ollie, good luck on your run. Don't cramp up. I'm actually not as au fait with Flash Morgan Webster matches as... this would be a question if Ollie was here, unless you've got anything you can recommend.
I've seen a lot of Flash... I couldn't tell you any like amazing... off the top of my head matches he's had, but I've seen a lot of Flash Morgan Webster. He's very good.
Very, very good.
He's
good gimmick as well. The Modfather is an excellent gimmick. Very, very good.
He's now teaming with Mark Andrews, isn't he?
I believe so,
There's a Welsh connection.
Yeah, and you asked him about the Welsh scene. It's very, very good because Mark Andrews is essentially running a lot of that with the promotions around there. And we've actually had people email us in who are training in the Welsh territories. Yeah, so apparently it's a very, very thriving scene. Craig Roberts asked, what was your least favourite match from WrestleMania 35?
What was the one I didn't like? Roman Drew.
I was going to say Roman Drew.
Roman Drew. Yeah. To be fair, I didn't like a lot of Batista Triple H.
No.
I think Batista Triple H could have been the exact same match, 25 minutes shorter, and it would have had, and they could have just gone spot to spot to spot, and it would have been fine.
Yeah, I'd say Roman Drew.
We didn't need as long looking for tools.
No. Yeah.
I will happily defend Batista Triple H.
Oh yeah,
go on then.
Go on then.
I think Batista Triple H, it was too long, yes, but the gross bit was really fun, and people went through tables, and it was, I don't know what everyone else was expecting from that match, but it delivered almost with surgical precision exactly what I thought it was going to be and when it was going to happen. I thought it was fine. It wasn't like great, but I don't think it was as bad or even bad at all. It was perfectly passable.
Yeah, no,
perfectly passable.
I think passable is a good way to put it. I'd have just had it 10 minutes shorter.
I think in a vacuum, watching it on its own, if you skip to it on the network, like if I went to watch WrestleMania 35 and I just want to watch the Batista Triple H match, I'd be on board with that. I was 5 hours deep and just like, I cannot be watching two people just walk around finding things to hit each other with.
Yeah.
Spending 3 minutes over each individual, like, I'm going to get this, I'm going to put you down now, I'm going to do this now. I was like, just pull it out of his face. Get on with it.
It didn't need to be the longest match on the show.
Yeah.
It was the wrong pacing of it.
After Jeff's ear and the nose ring, what's the next thing that's going to get plied out of someone's face on a WWE pay-per-view?
Who's got like a really ridiculous piercing?
Yeah. Somebody's eye. They're just going to have an eye.
Chris Gardner asks, hi all, regarding Tommaso Ciampa, WWE PC's YouTube channel have released part 1 and part 2 of a thing about Ciampa in hospital. They've really driven home the point about how disappointed everyone involved is that they couldn't finish the Gargano-Ciampa storyline and shown how sympathetic Tommaso's situation is. Could this in any way be related to the John Oliver stuff? Ooh. They showed Ciampa talking about having wrestler's neck and essentially saying it's unavoidable in this business and therefore not WWE's fault. It seems to me as if this was supposed to be released closer to the time of his return as a babyface, but they rushed it out after the reaction they had to John Oliver, hence it being a two-parter. Well, it was released, the first part of it was released before the John Oliver stuff came out, because it was on NXT TV, like the week after he'd vacated the title. Yeah. Actually, it might have been on the same show that he vacated the title.
Yeah, and I think that was partly to, like, we're partly painting him as a babyface so we can have the alternate moment at TakeOver New York where he comes out and he hugs Johnny Gargano, right?
Yeah.
Like, which could have also been the original finish to it anyway. Gargano beats the heel out of Ciampa and he turns babyface and goes and celebrates with Gargano like, we finally finished our journey together. But yeah, I think it was pretty much the only thing they could do really, to be like, let's, he can't still be a heel having neck surgery, so he has to have a soft babyface turn of some description.
Yeah.
And it made for a perfect televisual moment, I thought.
Indeed. Andy Mack, we get this one a lot. WWE versus NXT at Survivor Series, would you like to see it?
Yeah.
I'm going to say no on that one, only because I don't think WWE will ever book a match that people would like.
Well,
I don't think anyone would ever like the team that's selected, and I don't think people would like the order of entrance and of pinfalls and things like that. Unless the NXT just had a completely clean sweep of things, I think people would just say they are burying talent and doing this and not doing
Survivor
that.
Series is a load of rubbish anyway, isn't it? It's just Raw wins every year. Without fault, like Raw wins every year. So.
It'll be different this year because SmackDown's on Fox now.
Well, yeah, SmackDown will win all, but it's always a foregone conclusion. So like it would be interesting if they did like maybe there's a sort of there is a three-hander Survivor Series in future in which it's there's a league table between all three brands and then there's a bit more ability to switch things up, have different people win.
Yeah, but then it might mean something.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
Right, we need to try and rattle through some of these questions. Dan the Man asks, who do you think is the best big man in wrestling? I think it's Mike Awesome. I think it's Vader.
Vader's a very good shout.
Yeah. Oh, okay, cool.
PCO,
Travis,
he's not very big.
Oh, he's huge. Travis,
I think he's big that way.
Yes. If you owned a wrestling show and could book any active wrestler, what would be your main event? It's basically just a dream match for your main event of any promotion.
Oh. I love these questions without any prep time.
Yeah, I know.
To have a think.
And I've actually had to prep time because I wrote these down.
Oh.
Who did I pick? I don't know. Maybe we'll come back to that one. It's hard to think off the top of my head. No, come on. We can do this. We can do this, Simon.
What was it? Active?
But yeah, just book your dream match if you were to run a promotion. You can pick anyone from any company.
Oh, AJ Kenny.
AJ Kenny.
AJ Kenny is such a good shout.
But now you mentioned PCO, so all I could think of was PCO. I just book a rematch between PCO and Walter from Joey Janela's Spring Break.
I was about to say PCO Walter.
Yeah.
I would love to see that.
PCO versus the floor.
Because that match that they had at Joey Janela's Spring Break last year is one of the greatest matches I've ever seen for all the wrong reasons. So yeah, I'd probably just book that again. I'd book that as my main
Keith Lee
event.
and Dijak I would have.
Yeah, again.
I'd just have more. I'd probably just have things I'd already seen.
Yeah, Keith Lee
Can you
versus
do it
Tomohiro Ishii.
Can you do it spot for spot, please? Thank you.
Flev Dorian says, hello Luke, Ollie, Laurie, Pete, and yes, even Randy, who I want to congratulate for a job well done on monitoring the Wrestling League. No, that wasn't a joke. In regard to the question on one of the live streams about why WWE doesn't send a main roster superstar to NXT is because it's a, quote, money-losing brand, I don't understand that NXT is a money-losing idea. Yes, I've read about the 6 to 7 million house show tickets sold versus the 20 million investment, but as we know, house shows don't matter these days. What matters is TV money, and NXT is on the WWE Network, which has approximate 1.6 million subs with a $10 monthly subscription. So even if you include pay-per-views and network shows, they're still making money off the network content, so I'm asking the same question. Well, yeah, but there's also other stuff on the network. Like, NXT doesn't make any money on the network. Because, as you said, like if it was on a TV station making money, that's a different thing. But it's not. It's on the network.
Yeah,
I don't think the network's making that much money.
No, I guess you got to look at like their prospects for the network. Though they got to be thinking, well, Raw and SmackDown aren't going out at the right time. So pay-per-views are the number one reason people have the network, and then it's probably a toss-up between NXT and Total Bellas?
Well, that's
Total
the thing.
Divas?
Yeah,
I don't know.
When you look at the top 10 things watched on the network last week, it was all WrestleManias, old WrestleManias, and NXT Takeover. I think the NXT show came in like at 10th.
Yeah.
But things like NXT UK, 205 Live, they were well below the list.
Yeah.
They're like ranking below old WrestleManias because people are using it for the archive stuff that's on there. So yeah, it is. NXT is still a money-losing brand because their only source of income is those other house shows.
Yeah.
And the house shows draw to 200, 300 people.
Yeah.
You know, they have fun. That guy
It trains people up,
and it's a developmental system. Like, it doesn't have to make a lot of money anyway. It's developmental.
Yeah, it's funded by the rest of WWE existing, basically.
Exactly.
They'd have to do it anyway, so you might as well televise it.
Yeah, and it's like, even though it is a money-losing thing, they just got that Saudi money in and the Fox money, so it's not like they're hemorrhaging cash at the moment. If anything, they're Scrooge McDuck. Like, they're just swimming
around it.
That guy who wants to support. How would you book the debut of WWE's biggest signee ever, Bird Raptor? I think they've already done the perfect way to debut him.
Yeah, just nonsensically.
You didn't like it, did you?
I hate it. I hate it so much.
I love it. It's so pants. Like,
rubbish. I enjoy the pantsness of it, but I also, I don't know. I've just got that feeling that it's probably Bray Wyatt, isn't it?
Well, of course it's Bray Wyatt. He's wearing a Hawaiian shirt, but it's still rubbish.
Yeah, and there's just...
It's not a buzzard. It's a Bird Raptor.
It's just that feeling that...
We're all really excited for Bray Wyatt's return. And all of a sudden, he's
Bray,
Jim Henson.
I really love Bray Wyatt, and I'm so cross about the Bird Raptor.
I think it's great that this is the company that simultaneously does AR, VR, 360, and puppets. All the technology.
They'll never let puppetry die. TMLOL, is it time to split up the Riot Squad in the shake-up? Ruby has been in the main event against Rousey. Logan looks strong at the end of the Battle Royal, and Liv hasn't done anything. Personally, I think she will be released by the end of the year. Can't see that happening. And then he's just putting Ruby.
She's blonde, though.
And he's just putting Ruby on Raw and Logan on SmackDown. I could certainly see them doing a split of the Riot Squad. I don't think there's any need to keep them together anymore. But I could certainly see them keeping Logan and Morgan as a tag team.
Yeah.
Maybe them on SmackDown and keep Ruby on Raw.
Yeah, because they can't be the Riot Squad without Ruby, I guess.
No, exactly, yeah. But I think that because they've been putting over this idea that they are going to split up teams, or teams could be split up. And I think they want to make you think it's going to be the New Day or the Usos, and it will be one of the lower league teams like the Riot Squad, where it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I'd like it. I think Sarah Logan deserves a bit of a solo push.
Love that, yeah.
She was so good in that Battle Royal. And like I've been saying since she was in the Mae Young Classic, I was like, she's great. I don't know why they just stuck her in the losing tag team. And they were just like, well, you're just here to job to everyone else, so...
Yeah,
go nuts.
It was funny going back and watching our reactions to the Women's Battle Royal.
And we will go,
and we were like so into this idea of Logan winning. Like, we all stood up with like, Sarah Logan won, and then booed Carmella for winning. Right, we've got a few more of these Pledge Hammer questions. Martin Harmon, what is the general feeling on Enzo and Cass? Enzo had his NAF rap career and was in the crowd at Survivor Series before appearing at MSG. Cass was boring on his own, was an a-hole backstage before being released. He's worked a few indies, but my last recollection of him before MSG was having a seizure at a House of Hardcore show. He appears to be in better better shape now, which is good. Apparently he's not. Apparently the reports were he was in dreadful shape at MSG. He was blown up during the fight. They were over as a team in WWE, and I doubt they're really a-holes, but wrestling has created so many a-holes, so should they be given a second chance? They seem to have stumbled into in ROH. There are others who have had much better opportunities for being worse.
I'm not against them having a second chance at all. I'm against the idea of Enzo having gone away from wrestling, gone, screw all you guys, literally taking the mick out of wrestling fans in his debut video. It's gone, I'll never go back. It's babies things, it's stupid. And then continually turning up at things to try and put over his music. And now that's not really gone anywhere, been like, well, I'll go to Ring of Honor.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it feels more like he thinks that wrestling needs him, whereas actually he needs wrestling.
But also it's quite sad, isn't it?
It is
it's
sad.
It's just like these two guys struggled to get anywhere, so they've just gone back to that one act that made them remotely relevant in the first place.
And I think as well, like when we did the MSG thing, like Enzo showing up at Survivor Series, everyone was just taking the piss out of it because it did feel sad. It was Enzo showing up doing his old catchphrase, and people were just like, "Mate, let it go."
Yeah, man.
You don't work here anymore.
Yeah.
Just like let it go.
Well, also don't ruin this for everyone else.
So when the thing happened at MSG, we were all just going like, "God, that's sad." When we thought it was like a legit thing, we were like, "God, it's sad that they keep trying this." And I think it's actually worse that it was something that ROH orchestrated.
Yeah.
That actually feels even sadder.
Well, the only way to have done it would have been to like really go like to do the full thing, but put a camera on it. Like show us what's happening. So it's not just like he doesn't just look like a crazy person you're trying to like cut around because he's done something stupid again. Make a joke out of it. Make it funny. Make it purposeful, and then everyone goes, "Oh no, he's in on the joke now."
Yeah.
Like the joke is that Enzo is a bit tragic.
Sadly,
Sadly,
great word for him. And again, like the reports are that everyone at Ring of Honor doesn't want this.
Yeah.
It's the creative team don't want it, the boys in the back don't want it, but Sinclair do because they are recognizable names to a certain degree. They were really big merch sellers for WWE.
Yeah.
And so ROH management wants it, but that to me then screams that you're not going to be taken seriously if your creative and people backstage don't want you there.
Well, everything about that MSG show cried the notion that Ring of Honor wants to move in a WWE style direction in terms of its around the ring storytelling stuff,
Mega Ran.
right? Like Mega Ran, Enzo and Cass. Enzo and Cass, like we said before, like they are good for serving that purpose of turning up, doing some catchphrases, getting the crowd hot off the promo and the intro. Not off the match, but off that bit. Like, they're a good warm-up act for like televised filmed things. Like same as we said, like the New Day like there are people who have made little niches for themselves in wrestling where you can go like, well, you're a safe pair of hands to open a show because you've got this really cool catchphrase laden entrance. Like they could always be that.
Lastly, actually not lastly, penultimately rather, Darth Alamo says, "Hi Luke, Ollie Laurie, Randy, Andy Datson, the Chosen One, Chopper Pete. Do you think if Roman Reigns turned heel, he should be put into a faction with the Authors of Pain?" No.
That's just because they all wear the same clothes.
Yeah. No, absolutely not. Andy Mack says, previously we mentioned them taking the Gargano Ciampa NXT storyline and just doing it again on the main roster. How would you feel if they replicated it on the main roster, but with Black and Ricochet instead, with Ricochet as the face and Black as the heel? They don't have the same chemistry. Gargano Ciampa felt like an actual tag team.
Yeah.
Because they started out in NXT as a tag team, whereas this is a Franken team of two disparate people who have no connection to each other whatsoever. No. So yeah, I don't think that you can. I don't think you'd even come close to replicating that story. Like they had a genuine love for each other that you got all these photos that you can use.
Yeah,
like
there's like this long-running friendship there that they're actually just playing on real life to a degree. Whereas with Gargano and Ciampa.
These are two lads.
Yeah, two guys who we didn't really know what to do with, but we needed some people. We needed one who could do a flip and one who could do some nice kicks. Yeah, so you fill the void.
Right, well, that is all of our Pledge Hammer questions, but have we got any more super chats?
Yeah, we do. German Dan says thanks for the extra show.
Yay! You say it's an extra show, but it's actually not. It's because we didn't do one on Saturday.
It's the belated show.
Pizza and Wrestling. So now they've written this out on their phone, so I think they'll excuse me for sort of paraphrasing a bit, but basically they're saying with social media and kayfabe being turned up massively in WWE, are they basically breaking the fourth wall with all the Sasha drama and Bailey drama, just to give us a new kind of sports entertainment show. What your general thoughts on kayfabe and social media now?
Like, if you could turn that into a storyline, like all of this was designed to be turned into a storyline, because that's the key to it, is if it does become part of her character and storyline on Raw and SmackDown, then I think that'd be a very interesting thing to do. But if it's one of those things that they just completely ignore, like when everyone said like, oh, the Dean Ambrose thing is totally a work, and I'm like, well, if it's a work, why aren't they mentioning it? Like, why are we building no stories out of this? And then they didn't, and it turns out it wasn't a work. He's just going.
It was interesting, isn't it? Because it's hard to tell. Social media makes it even harder to tell where the line between kayfabe and reality actually is. Because there was a thing I was reading that was about Ciampa saying like Ciampa on why there are no good heels anymore, and he's like, because no one committed to kayfabe, and he was one of the few people who just went full. When I'm heel Ciampa, I'm not posting pictures of my dog on Facebook and Instagram. I'm just being Ciampa the character,
incorrectly tagging people on purpose,
just doing whatever, just being himself, being his like uber heel character, and that's so good. And I think there is a degree to do it with handling backstage drama or fake backstage drama, manufacturing heat, and making that a storyline.
Yeah,
I just don't know whether they're savvy enough to have done that.
Sasha Banks' Twitter update, by the way, she also posted, I dream my painting, then I paint my dream.
That's awful.
One more.
Oh, we got one more. Excellent.
On this note, Mr. Calloway has said that, do you believe that Sasha Banks feels that she's bigger than WWE, which seems to be a sentiment of quite a large section of the audience, I guess.
Yeah, there's equal to like, she's just throwing her toys out the pram. Correct, and things like that. I don't think she thinks she's bigger than WWE. Absolutely not. I think she's just frustrated.
I think in
quite rightly so. Yeah,
but in all of this, I feel I'm bigger than WWE thing. She continually mentions that it's her dream.
Yeah,
like. All she's saying in her stuff is like, it was my dream, and sometimes your dream lets you down. Like, it's kind of like almost a don't meet your heroes kind of
absolutely,
deal, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like she just thought she would get a better deal than this, because at some point, like, she was recognized from the beginning as a talent, right? Like in NXT, she was given like the run of runs and had all these amazing matches and was part of a whole like revamp of a division within the company. And then you get to the main roster and you've done all this work and they've just gone, oh, the Flair one we'll have. Mm-hmm. And then
the Rousey one.
And Rousey comes in because she's already got a name and she takes over immediately. Becky lucked out to a degree, and got
the fans got her into that position.
Yeah, the fans really pushed Becky into that position, and she worked really, she obviously worked her butt off to get there in the first place, but lucked out in the sense that, I think Banks and Bailey have also both worked their butts off.
Yeah.
And they get, on the same show at which Becky gets to lift 2 titles up, they get what they felt like was them establishing something and making it really important, which was they were told and they were telling everyone was really important. They get that wrenched away from them. So I don't think it's about being bigger than WWE at all. It's just going, this again,
Absolutely.
It must be super frustrating.
No, I completely agree. But that is all we've got time for on this bonus. Oh, sorry, Simon.
We just want to very quickly say thanks to John Inuaso, who says congratulations on 700k, guys.
Hey, yeah. Thank you very much. And thank you to everyone who has been one of our subscribers, helping us pass the 700,000 mark. Screen Stalker passed 32,000 as well over the weekend. So it was like milestones all round. Ollie finished a marathon. We're going live.
That's the least important one.
We're going to be doing our next live show May 7th at the Prince Charles Cinema. We're doing a screening of Ready to Rumble, and then doing a live podcast record talking about the career of David Arquette, which we're so excited for. May 7th. Tickets are available now from the Prince Charles Cinema, so head on over there and get your tickets, because it's going to be a great night. We're all going to be there doing a meet and greet and things like that, and we'll go out for drinks afterwards and stuff like that. So come down and join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. That is all we've got time for on this show. However, click the videos. This is obviously for post, to catch up with the latest Wrestle Talk awesome things, and this button right here, which will make you a pledge hammer on Patreon, where you can get involved in the mailbag and all other sorts of nonsense. I've been Luke Owen. This has been our fake Laurie Blake. That was housemate Simon.
Housemate Simon.
And that was wrestling.